Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle, and today is an energy update for the new moon in Sagittarius on December 19th at 3:44 p.m. Hawaii time. So, I'll be going over the energy for this new moon, but I'm also going to be doing some brief updating about just some energetic shifts that have been occurring recently that you can be aware of. I'm going to start with those just so that we can get grounded into where we are right now. And some of the things that have recently happened is that Neptune, the mystical planet, the planet of our dreams and creativity and the mystical realms, our our spiritual realms, our astral realms, the multi-dimensional nature that we all have, that planet has gone direct. Neptune went direct on December 10th, and it's stationed direct that day. It's still at the 29th degree of Pisces, which is a critical degree. It's a degree of karmic completion. It's kind of volatile and ungrounded in some ways because it's that transition between the energy of Pisces and kind of that volatile state we need when we are about to shift into a new energy. And so when you're about to shift into a new energy, you are unanchoring from the previous energy and anything related to that energy that you're anchored in, like the karma. And that frees you up and puts you into a kind of a freed state that then allows you to shift into the new energy. And so we've all been hanging out collectively at this 29th degree in Pisces with Neptune there on an energetic level, in our energetic realms, in our ideals together, unanchoring from old ideals related to Pisces. Those ideals could have been based in empathy, all how we use our empathy, the appropriate boundaries for our empathy and compassion and forgiveness, letting go and laying to rest martyrdom, overcompromising, fantasies, delusions, releasing old veils that kept us in fantasy and delusions. The whole concept of gurus, the whole concept of spiritual hierarchy, all of that. It's almost like the collective is starting to poke holes in all of that. They starting to strip the veils around all of that, starting to bring some karmic resolution to the past cycle that Neptune has been in regarding Neptune and Pisces. It was, I believe, in 2011 where Neptune first entered Pisces, and then I think it wasn't until 2012 where it started a firm transit through Pisces. So it's been there for a long time. Neptune goes through a zodiac sign, I believe, I mean, definitely over 10 years. I think it's somewhere close to like 12 or 14 years. I would have to take a look at the exact average transit. So don't pin me to that. But the point being, Neptune is going to be at the 29th degree, and it's not going to go into Aries until January, I believe, or 2026. So I will definitely be doing more of an energy update about Neptune going into Aries because that's a major shift. It did go into Aries briefly this year at the end of March. through the summer, I believe. And I don't know the exact date that it went back into Pisces. I didn't put that all down on paper. And sometimes I remember it and sometimes I don't. So I will go over all of those exact dates in a future video so that we can all get grounded into this energetic shift that's occurring. But I just wanted to point that out. Neptune went direct. And so, when Neptune is moving forward, that's when we're more in an expansion around these Neptunian energies, so in the spiritual realms, we're dissolving things again, we're expanding into new collective spiritual experiences, we're expanding back into more of putting our creativity out there. When it was retrograde, it was more of checking and dissolving, layers and veils and poking holes in the things that aren't true and, kind of withdrawing, kind of like the receding of an ocean versus the ocean wave expanding outwards onto the shore. So Neptune is definitely going direct. Still at the 29th degree, we're all still collectively kind of hanging out in that energy of unanchoring from the old, resolving our karma, dissolving things that need to be dissolved before we shift into a new energy, before collectively all of our ideals, the things that the energy that we create, the way that we're creating, the way that we're spiritually expanding, the way that we're spiritually expressing goes through a shift. Okay. The other thing I want to mention is that on December 11th, Mercury shifts into Sagittarius. So Mercury has been in an extended stay in Scorpio for a while. And that's because we had Mercury retrograde that started in Sagittarius and then went back into Scorpio. So Mercury's been in Scorpio, that sign of that watery, intuitive, psychic sign, that deep psychological sign. We could have been in more deeper, complex places, really working out, exposing truths, evolving, becoming aware of our shadows, investigating, strategizing, going into our deeper emotional layers. But as Mercury, the planet of communication, our processing and thinking messages, the way we translate our realities, our spiritual realities, our internal realities, our external realities. It's shifting into Sagittarius. Now, Mercury going through Sagittarius is technically at its detriment. That does mean that it's a bit of a misfit in this energy. That's because Sagittarius is very philosophical and broad thinking and kind of shoots off the hip a bit, a little bit more impulsive, blunt, maybe lacking tact in what it says, because it can be both optimistic and humorous and funny and goofy, but it can also be maybe unintentionally a little too blunt with the truth, lacking that tact. But yeah, Mercury is a planet that does better in signs and energies that are able to pay attention to details, able to pay attention to our social interactions, able to be more organized and analytical and aware of multiple details at once. So it's a little bit like, uh, you know, if you want to go teach a calculus class, you end up on top of a mountain in the middle of a spiritual sanctuary, teaching a calculus class, and you end up trying to teach a calculus class, but you end up talking about, quantum physics or something, and talking about multiple dimensions or, things of higher, more broader nature, So it's It's a little funny in Sagittarius. It doesn't mean that it's bad or negative. It just means that when it comes to the details in our lives, when it comes to organization in our lives, when it comes to analyzing and really getting our point across in a way that someone else might understand, that's a little bit more challenging. We have to work a little bit harder in order to get that kind of stuff articulated, that kind of stuff clarified. Whereas, we could be really thinking about our higher goals, the meaning of our experiences. We could be really mentally explorative at this time, more optimistic. I mean, we got to all lean into more optimism, when Mercury is in Sagittarius. It's going to help us to be more optimistic, to be more hopeful, to be more explorative, to be more instinctual, to be more spontaneous and adaptable, and to just kind of go out there and explore, have an experience, gain wisdom from experience. It's not the type of time when we're going to get information from reading like a lot of books and studying, but more so just trying something out, exploring, gaining through experience. I'm going to try this. Does this work? No, it doesn't. I'm going to try something different. So that's the kind of shift that's starting around December 11th. Another shift coming up before the new moon is Mars is going into Capricorn. This is a really good shift for all of us because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which means it's a not just a good fit for Capricorn, it does its best in Capricorn. That's because Capricorn is an earth sign. It's grounded. It's thinking about its long-term goals. It's ambitious and it's practical and it's mature. And so Mars, the planet of war, the planet of our challenges and obstacles, our masculine energy, the way we channel our energy into activities, our projects, the things that we need to get done, the conflicts that we need to solve, the things we need to cut out of our lives. This has more of a grounded, mature tone to it that keeps our long term goals in our awareness as we channel our energy and direct our energy. So that's something that's going to be great for all of us. We're going to be highly resourced on an energetic level to be really ambitious and taking gradual steps and grounded steps that are best for all of us in the long term. And then this new moon, like I mentioned, is on December 19th. It's right before Capricorn season. Capricorn season is going to be starting on December 21st. And this new moon is just a few days before that, just a couple days before that, right? The new moon is going to be at 28 degrees in Sagittarius. So if you have Sagittarius placements at 28 degrees, or about 5 degrees in orbit, before or after, then this new moon is going to have more of a significant impact on you. It's also going to be very impactful for you if you have placements in the mutable signs at those later degrees, like Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo. All right, let's talk about this new moon. First of all, this new moon is in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is a fire sign, it's a mutable sign, and it's a masculine sign. It's all about taking that action outwards in our lives. That physical action. It's spontaneous, it's impulsive sometimes, it's adaptable. The action that we take can take twists and turns. It's transitional. We're starting from, when we're working with Sagittarius energy, it's like we're starting in one place and we're in a transition to a totally different place. And oftentimes, Sagittarius involves freedom, so that we can explore things. We can go through an experience, we can go on a journey, we can go on an adventure, and have an experience and gain knowledge and wisdom through that experience. And so it does require us to be more instinctual, this new beginning, more rooted in our freedom and our independence and our willingness to go out and explore and learn something from our experiences, but to also have more of a philosophical mindset, a more broader mindset, have an overall, higher goal in mind or search for higher meaning in mind in this new beginning. And the thing I like about this new beginning already is that this new moon is conjunct with Venus. Venus is in Sagittarius. Venus in Sagittarius can be so optimistic and it's very freedom loving in our relationships. It's like very enthusiastic. It reminds me of like having a teammate on a sports team. It's like that person's going to pass you the ball and then they're going to run ahead of you and you're going to pass them the ball, or they're going to, help you score the goal, right? It's like you have this goal, it's on the other side of the field, and you're going to pass the ball back and forth until you get to the goal at the end of the field. So this is someone that's like, this is like a relationship energy, coming together with other people, coming together with a partner, coming together with a person, that they're going to help you reach a higher goal, help you in your exploration process, help you train, help you get stronger, help you find what you need. And so it's like having a very enthusiastic, optimistic, partnership. We also have Juno, the asteroid here of partnership and marriage. And so there's definitely this strong energy of partnership around this new moon, relationships that can act like solid partners, like committed partners, relationships that are there for the long haul, that are going to help us explore and also give us freedom and also be independent and also be enthusiastic for us to find higher meaning, find wisdom, um, get to our higher goals through exploration, through our instincts, through going on a journey, going on a long journey, especially in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is known for like that long distance travel. It's known for the traveler, like going into different cultures, seeing things from totally different perspectives, gaining knowledge from cultures and experiences and people that are from different backgrounds, from different cultures, that speak different languages, that have different philosophies, um, people that can act like our teachers, our trainers. This is kind of the energy of that new moon. And so that energy is locked into this new beginning. And what's interesting about it is that this new moon is squaring Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. And I think that's very interesting because this is calling us to integrate an energy into this new moon, like embody two energies that typically don't really, that are very different. The thing that's in common between Sagittarius and Pisces is that they're mutable signs. So both of these signs are good with change and transition. That's what they have in common, right? And so this new moon does involve our adaptability, our ability to go through a transition of sorts. However, what they don't have in common is that one is more receptive, like a water sign. It's more receptive and sensitive and emotional and dreamy and like mystical and non-linear and just kind of like emotional, right? And one is more fiery and action oriented and physical and instinctual. And so it's kind of like blending and embodying both of these energies together. Like when we have this new beginning, it's definitely going to be about our long-term goals because we have it squaring Saturn. It's about our long-term goals, our long-term adventure, our long-term journey, long-term commitments to relationships, and how we explore them, how we how we embody our dreams together, how we go after a common ideal or goal together, how we ground something into our lives, how we build something into our lives together, and how we do that both instinctually with freedom, with exploration, with enthusiasm and optimism, as well as how we do that with intuition, how we do that with emotional sensitivity, how we do that in a way that is creative, and how we do that in a way that is, um, kind of creative as well. These are two energies we're bringing together in this new beginning. So I actually really love this new moon in that it's like having someone like a partner that you team up with in this new beginning. And it's like you've got a long mission or a long goal or a long-term goal. There's something that you need to explore. And this partnership, this relationship that you can team up with is going to kind of help you train, help you develop, help you build something, help you create something and ground it, bring your dreams into reality, And so this could be a beautiful new moon where you partner up with someone. This could be a beautiful new moon where you work with someone else to help you with your goals, your long-term goals. Um, it's going to be someone that's enthusiastic, someone that's freedom oriented, someone that's supporting your higher goals, but also someone that's grounded, someone that's mystical, someone's that's also creative and intuitive, and you know, to go through a change with you, to go through a transition with you. So this is like a beautiful energy, in my opinion, for that. One of the things I'm noticing that's kind of baked into this new moon is that Mars is in Capricorn, exalted in Capricorn. That's great energy. This is ambitious. This is like us focused on our long-term goals, taking action and step-by-step action to taking ourselves from one place to a higher place, like an ascension process in our goals, building our legacy, so to speak, one action at a time, one step at a time. But it is also still in a wide square with kind of Saturn and Neptune here, especially Neptune. And so this is where we could not be very clear on where to put our energy. Like, where do I need to put my energy? Like, I'm not sure how to create this. Like I have this goal, I have this idea, I have this vision, but like how do I build that? Um, what needs to what needs to dissolve? What needs to clear out? There could be some confusion around our action. And there can also be some delays in our action and our need to like really bring presence to our action. With Mars in a square to Saturn, that can be where we have to stop sometimes and deal with something before we can continue, where something urgent comes up and we have to stop and take care of that before we continue with something that's important to us, our long-term goals. It could be where we need to really look at our foundations and make sure we, you know, really comb through our foundations and get them very solid before we move forward. But it can also be where we're integrating presence, our intuition. It's our intuition, our long-term goals, our actions, what's important to do now, plus what we need to overall build for our long-term foundations, like all of that being integrated at once. Sometimes that all needs to slow down so that we can really embody it, embody a new energy, really be present with what we're doing so that we're not just like taking any action. We're not just being spontaneous and impulsive and just, you know, getting things done, checking things off our list, but we're doing it in a way that's intuitive. We're tuned into our soul, tuned into our intuition, we're tuned into not just our instincts, but our intuitive next step, what we're completing, what is ending, and what we are creating next, and what we need to do next, and what's going to be not just the practical next step, but also the intuitive next step that we're taking. So that's also an energy that I'm sensing in this new moon. We do have a wonderful trine here with the new moon from Chiron and Sedna. Is that Sedna? No, that's Eris. Sorry. This is Eris. Yes. Eris and Chiron in a trine with the new moon. This new moon could be revealing. Eris is the goddess of chaos and discord. And whenever this energy comes into our lives, it can be exposing in some way, like exposing the truth, exposing what needs to be exposed, kind of like an awakening energy that allows us to bring change into our lives. And here it is, so close to Chiron. Some of the wounds right now that we're all working through collectively have to do with how we assert ourselves in a relationship, how we have the confidence to assert ourselves in the world as individuals, how we build that confidence, how we work through issues of confidence, how we work through issues of not being able to assert our needs in a relationship. And then with it so close to Eris here, it's kind of like an awakening. The more that we learn how to be individualistic, like the more that we, learn about ourselves as individuals, the more that we're able to like really take care of ourselves and put ourselves first and like take care of our needs, um, can be like an awakening. It can bring a lot of beautiful change. There is a trine here with the new moon, and so this moon also gives us this supportive kind of wisdom around healing and things that can bring awakening and change and healing to our confidence and the way we assert our personal dreams into the world, our personal and higher goals into the world, and how we build that overall. We do have an in conjunction here between, let me just look at this a little bit closely. Yeah, an in conjunction here with Uranus. Um, And Uranus is the planet of the higher mind. Uranus is the planet of awakening, shakeups, change, things that are unpredictable. And so the new moon in conjunction here is kind of like a blind spot. Like this new moon definitely is bringing change. And there could be some unexpected twists and turns. Um, what's great is that we've got a lot of this mutable energy baked into this new moon. And so this is the type of beginning where you might have to pivot, you might have to change something, you might have to adapt, you might have to transition, you might have to think about things like your long-term goals and having consistent action, but also be willing to pivot and change your actions as needed on a step-by-step basis to get through a transition, so that you can get to kind of like that long-term goal that you have. So again, here's another element of change that's coming with this new moon. It's just kind of like a blind spot. And I think the blind spot might have to do with this Taurus energy. Taurus is all about our financial security. It's also about our self-worth and our values. And so, we have to up level. We have to up level our self-worth. We have to invest in ourselves. We have to, be aware of our financial security. We can't just, you know, Sagittarius can be very spontaneous and impulsive and instinctual without even thinking. And, and Taurus is very grounded and focused on financial security. And so sometimes those energies have nothing in common, and so sometimes you have to sacrifice your freedom in order to have stability. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your financial security in order to make a move and take a leap of faith and, quantum leap into a new potential, right? That is going to bring you more opportunities. And that doesn't feel necessarily safe for Taurus, to be so spontaneous with money, or take a leap of faith with money to invest in yourself in a way that's kind of sudden and spontaneous, or like a leap of faith of some kind. And so usually these two energies, because it's this, in conjunction here, this quincunx aspect, it does point out that it's kind of a frustrating blind spot. It's a little bit like I have to sacrifice this in order to have this, or I have to sacrifice this in order to have this, or I have to repress this part of myself in order to express this part of myself, or I have to express this part of myself and kind of, not take care of this part of myself. And usually there's some kind of compromise between one of those energies in order to have the result that you need. And so we might be thinking about that a little bit, like, do I need to sacrifice a little bit of my freedom in order to have financial security? Do I need to invest in myself and have more self-worth in order to really reach my higher goals? Um, you know, Something like that is coming through in the new moon. What kind of healing can I do? We've got Chiron trining this new moon. What kind of healing do I need to do so that I can get out of my own way, so that I can really reach my long-term goals, so I can really manifest my higher goals into reality? And again, we have Hygeia, another healing indication. Hygeia is the goddess of miraculous healing, and she is in Cancer, the sign of our emotional security and, connections with family and ones that are close to us. And it is in opposition to this new moon. So again, this is another tension point of, caring for our emotional security, healing, kind of balancing that out, like our intuition, our emotional intelligence, our healing, with the side of us that just wants freedom, that just wants to explore, that is just enthusiastic to get out there and go, and leap into, and kind of depend on our luck, um, as we approach our higher goals. Um, the other thing I want to point out here before I wrap up is Jupiter. Jupiter, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And so Jupiter is going to be in a square with Chiron. Again, that is where we're all doing some healing right now. Jupiter is about growth and expansion, and it is retrograde, meaning that we are, especially with it being in Cancer, we're more reflective, we're more emotionally reflected. We might be working through family wounds, emotional wounds, wounds around our emotional security, where we don't quite feel safe, where we're feeling a little too vulnerable, especially when we need to, gain some confidence and, assert our emotional needs, feel more safe and protective as we go on an adventure, as we go and explore and grow in our relationships, as we heal deeper family ancestral wounding. That might come up during this new moon cycle, healing deeper ancestral energies, healing deeper family wounds, healing wounds related to our self confidence, our ability to get our individual needs met in our relationships, but not just any relationships, things that stem deep into our kind of family ancestral patterns. That would be something that could be coming up around this new moon cycle. Like, that's where you can look, if you're going to be doing some healing work on yourself, you can look at, where do you have a blind spot around financial security related to family wounds? Where do you not have a sense of self-worth to invest in yourself related to family wounds? Where do you lack a sense of freedom and safety and confidence and enthusiasm and optimism to explore something, and gain wisdom through exploration and freedom and independence? Where are you not able to just consistently take steps towards your goals and have faith in your goals and believe in your long-term goals? Even if you can't see them, where can you just hold the vision, show up consistently, be adaptable, go through a transition, and take steps to meet your goal consistently and believe in yourself? these are things that you can heal through. And this new moon is bringing that up to the surface. It is kind of like believe in yourself, believe in your higher goals, have faith in your higher goals, your long-term goals, and that you can build and ground and manifest those long-term goals. Is it going to take time? Yes, it's going to take time. You know, we've got a lot of the Saturn energy in here. We have a trine to Saturn, we have a square to Saturn. There's definitely delays in this new beginning. This is long term goals. You're not getting instant results here. It's going to take time. Okay. But having faith, building that, taking one step at a time, believing in yourself, healing your money stuff, all of that is coming up to the surface. Healing your passion, your spiritual passion, around your ambitions, allowing yourself to alchemize, you know, your ambitions with your spiritual essence, with your spiritual nature. How do you, as a unique spirit, reach your long-term goals? How do you bring in the passion and the fire in order to do that and have faith and grow and, you know, work through some of those emotional wounds that don't feel safe, you know, that are actually blocking you. It's not that it isn't safe. It's just you need to have some faith. You need to grow. You need to build. You need to let your creativity, your passion, you know, your creative energy help you build it. And then um, we have Jupiter in conjunction to Venus here, right? So Venus can bring up stuff about money, it can bring up stuff about our heart and relationships and our values. And again, we have this blind spot around safety and emotional intelligence and our intuition. And, you know, we have that uncomfortable energy between I need emotional security, I need to feel safe emotionally. I have these family wounds. I have these ancestral wounds. I have this long term goal. I have this passion to grow and expand in a certain way. And I also have to embrace freedom in relationships and independence in relationships and, um, you know, vulnerability in relationships and confidence in relationships and exploration in relationships and, you know, learning through experience in our relationships. And those things, you know, there's usually a compromise. You know, usually when you have to explore in a relationship, it's not predictable with your money, you know, with your relationships. You have to explore, you have to give freedom. You have to, you know, learn through experiences. You know, that might not feel safe. That might feel vulnerable. That might feel like it might stir some kind of deeper wound inside of you that needs healing. And so when we go within, when we reflect, when we have faith in ourselves, when we are willing to grow, when we're willing to heal, when we're willing to, you know, take consistent daily action towards our long-term goals and build that over time, you get results. This is not a new beginning where you're going to see immediate results. This is a new beginning where you're in a transition. And if you put in the work, and if you do the work, and if you do the healing work, and if you go through growth, then you will see some wonderful results around building your dreams, grounding your dreams, creating something, and making it real. All right, everyone. I have to hop off. It was so good sharing this energy with you. It's a good time to be optimistic about your dreams and how you're going to build those dreams in the long run. And if you need any support at all, feel free to find information in the description box. Whether you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify, you can find information about a free consultation. If you've never met me before, you want to talk about my offerings, or if you want to jump into some astrology readings, a natal chart reading, a solar return reading, readings about the transits, the upcoming eclipses. We've got some major transits coming up in the beginning of 2026. And if you have early degrees placements in Aries, you might want to take a look at that. But yeah, astrology readings, psychic readings, I'm like a soul translator in those psychic readings. I can read spiritual agreements, the energy of things, help you look at the energy of choices so that you can make the right choice for you. I can, help you clear energy if you feel blocked, if you are noticing a wound, a pattern, you're stuck on some level. You can schedule a healing, or if you are ready to train and develop your intuition, develop your own ability to heal yourself, navigate your life in a very grounded, intuitive, empowering, transformative way. If you are going through a spiritual transformation, and you are going through an awakening, embodied enlightenment, self realization, and you need to learn how to manage your energy or work with your intuition for real, definitely contact me. Let's get started with some classes. All right, everyone. It's a joy, a pleasure, an honor to connect with you. Please do me a big favor, give me a huge psychic hug and like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell if you're listening to this on YouTube, or please give my podcast a rating on Spotify. That would be like a huge, big psychic hug from you. I love to hear your comments. I love to hear what resonates. I love to hear what you want me to talk about. I love to hear from you about your experiences. It's great to see your comments. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.